All right, cool. So I like to start out by saying that I didn't, I graduated high school, went to college for a couple of years, didn't like it. So didn't graduate from college, don't have a degree. So being able to interview has kind of been my saving grace as far as what I do for a living, right? So most people in banking and most people do what I do in banking, they've got these prestigious degrees and crap like that. I just know how to communicate with people, know how to talk to people, and I think that's important, and almost more important than a college degree. I'll tell this story too, is that if I walk into an interview, and so say this is my college degree, and I'm rolling here like this, like yeah, it's Jamie, here's my college degree, this is my college degree, and with it Tim? Yeah. So Tim walks in, Tim doesn't have a college degree, but Tim's been working in this industry for the past 8 years. Like, who am I gonna hire? This person, Jamie, holding up his degree, knows that I know he has training in that particular, deal, but I know he's also wet behind the ears, just graduated college and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to pay him more, right? Because this guy's a little degree. So I'm gonna hire Tim all day long because Tim's done the job, right? So then what you have to get past that point is the interview, which at the end of the day is easy, okay? Because it's the opportunity we get to kind of sell ourselves. And it's not about, I always tell people that this is, when I would go into an interview, it never was about, did they want me for the job, right? It's more of, do I want to work for you, right? So my answers were tailored around, can I build a relationship with you? Do we have anything in common? Stuff like that. So it made me less nervous as well, right? Because it was one of those deals where I don't care. I mean, I'm trying to figure out if I want to come work at your company. I never said that, but it's the way my mindset was. So that's one of the things that kind of helps you when you go into an interview, because at the end of the day we get nervous, right? Everybody get nervous when you go to an interview? Yeah. All right, so do it's been proven that when you're nervous you think clearer? Why is that? Because you're focused on one thing, right? So that's all you're thinking about. Like, I'm not thinking about my hot wife and our 3 kids when I'm interviewing, right? I'm thinking about, I'm talking to this person about this job, and I'm focused on what I'm doing. So I'm nervous, but that's good because I'm focused, right? So I don't know, I didn't write this thing. It does have some cool stuff in it, but it, actually, Brian's turned it to where past beginning. So let me talk about this real quick. So, and then we'll go through this. So products or services demonstrate knowledge of the company. Back in 1995, you had to say the year of our Lord when you say 1900s, right? Because it sounds older. I graduated high school, right? So I didn't have Google. I didn't even have a dang cell phone. I had a pager. Thought it was cool. Then I had to go to payphone, use it. Who had a pager? You had a pager? You had a pager?
Yeah, I've had a pager for work.
For work, yeah. I didn't have it for work. I got it for personal use. Yeah. For people to call me, so I could go put in 25 cents and call them back, and then just to say hi. So we had one of those, right? And so I didn't have a way where if I was going to Miller Industries that I could go online and figure out what there is to know about Miller Industries, right? Like what they make. I had no idea. I've been in Ottawa for a long time, as far as I'm on the chamber board down there, and so I've toured that plant several times. I know now they make wreckers, right? So they make a ton of them for the military, for everything. So I know that now, but I didn't know that then. Couldn't have found that out unless I knew somebody that worked there. So now we have information at our fingertips, right? So there's no way that Tim can walk into a place that he's interviewing for and not know what they make, not know their safety records, right? Not know what's important to them, and then really not know how they dress, because most of the time they put people on the front of their page, that's how they dress, right? Some of them will be executives that do that. Sometimes they put managers that do that. I haven't looked at some lately, but typically they have, what you're going to see when you go in there. So that is a thing that I would tell you, that if you haven't looked up what company you're going to interview with, or if you haven't looked up what company you're thinking about interviewing with, you will gain more points with whoever is interviewing you if you can ask a couple of questions tailored around your research. They know that you did your homework, right? So if I go to, say, if it's Miller Industries or Whirlpool, whatever, every factory, because in banking, so I work with commercial, I'm commercial banking. So I deal with business owners, that's all I deal with. One of their main costs is insurance.
You give out loans.
Yeah, I do loans. Do loans, big loans, right? To businesses over 2 million in revenue. So their main concern is insurance because it's a big cost for them. So how do you keep your insurance premiums low? Safety, right? So you got safety, safety, safety. So all these places have hours of how long they've been safe and without injury and stuff like that.
Right.
One of your comments or one of your questions is like, listen, how do you do this? They're like, how you do what? How have you kept for 1 million hours this place safe? That's what attracts me to this company. The fact that I know I'm going to a safe work environment. You know what's going to happen to the person interviewing you? They're like, probably no more interviews that day. Let's go ahead and hire them right now, right? Because nobody's asking that question. You've got to find a way to set yourself apart. That's a way you can do it, okay? All right, so let's talk about what to wear. Let's talk about negative choices, right? Don't wear jeans. Even if you see that they wear jeans, don't wear jeans.
To the interview?
To the interview. Yeah, all this is to the interview. So don't wear that to the interview. Don't wear t-shirts. Don't wear tennis shoes. Go ahead.
What if they're saying that you would end up doing a welding?
Okay, so that's a question you ask with
the
it.
same day.
Right, that's a question you ask at the interview. Who am I going to be interviewing with? And am I going to be doing any spot welds, or is it going to be, am I just having a discussion? Something like that up front. Or,
Maybe you can bring change of clothes.
could do that in the
Just
car.
to be prepared. Not saying you, but it's just food for thought.
It's a good idea. So you could do something like that. But they should tell you that, right? When you get, or before you get there, they should say, hey, we're gonna ask you to do a weld. I haven't heard of an interview that's went that way with all the welders we've had through here. But it's a possibility. So, and I can find out, is anybody going to Miller? Russell Decker, I know very well, he does their training and stuff like that, so.
Once you get to a
Yeah, my
school,
son, he went through this program, he went down there for an interview, and he did a well test that day.
Did? Yeah.
They automatically tell you
So question.
if they're gonna get you for an interview,
Yeah.
that you'll come for an interview, but you'll have to do a well test.
Very good. So you could say, I don't, listen, so jeans, long sleeve shirt, right? They usually give you something protective to put on, right? Coat, something like that. So maybe they do that. That may be jeans tucked in, polo or something like that, or polo long sleeve, and you've got a jacket over top of it because you're going to do that. I would suggest that they probably would look past the dress thing if you're coming in for a weld.
right, not wear what you want, but
Right.
pretty much.
Yeah, look nice.
Yeah, like I can take this off right here and I got a white t-shirt underneath.
Right.
You can go ahead,
That works.
do your thing.
Um,
Wear it this morning.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, I don't need you wearing some low necklines. I don't need to see your cleavage. Everybody's laughing. No tight fitting clothes, wrinkled clothes. Listen, I am the cheapest individual in the world, right? So this suit, and I got two other ones I got for $100 off Hagar website, right? Or Hagar, that's all I know. But I don't have to worry about the wrinkling. I wear all wrinkle-free shirts because I can just throw them in the dryer. So you don't have to have the iron or stuff like that. Don't throw on a lot of cologne. Tim, this is for you. I don't want you going in there, especially if there's a woman. Don't be throwing on that cologne. Try to make her happy. Go, take her off. All right. So in the book, you'll see that's mostly professional wear. If you were doing that. So, what does it take to an interview? Positive, friendly out. Do what?
I said, she might be allergic to cologne.
That's true. Copy of resume and notes with you. I always ask the question if I'm going to interview somebody, or if I'm interviewing somebody, they ask me, or if I'm asking when I interview with somebody, is how many people am I going to be interviewing with? That's important because that way you know how many resumes that you need to bring. And we'll talk about some other things with that as well in just a second. Your list of questions. Now, I've had people come in and I've interviewed, and they ask me 16 freaking questions. I'm like, pardon me, I'm interviewing you, right? I'm gonna ask the majority of the questions in this thing. You're gonna ask me a bunch of questions, then probably not gonna be happy with what you're doing. Because you're inquisitive, that tells me that when you get on the job, you're gonna be talking a lot and working less, right? Because you want to talk, you want to find out information. So don't ask a lot of questions. I think 2 questions is key. And I would make those 2 questions like something around what I was talking about with the website and what you found out. Something that's pertinent, it's kind of bullcrapish a little bit, and do it like that. That would be the easier way to get that done.
I got a job. I'm looking at tag
Yeah.
manufacturing on Discovery Drive,
Uh-huh.
and I've been getting a lot of bad reviews, like from former employees.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this the right job to even pick
Here's the
for
thing
my-"
though, here's the deal. You said, keyword, former, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of people that don't like working these days. And there's a lot of people that don't like working hard shifts. My dad worked for 29 years at Bendix Brakes, and he worked third shift. He had every reason in the world to not want to work there and go work first shift somewhere, but he stuck it out. And listen, we're all probably around the same age. They don't make them like us anymore. Okay, my sons, we got 3 of them. If it's got a computer in front of them, they can do it, right? They don't like hard work,
No,
even
they
though,
don't.
and I know that because I make them work hard all the time. So it's one of those deals where people that leave a place, usually it's a them problem and not a work problem. And so there's a lot of thems out there with that kind of problem. Okay,
Their attitude.
yeah, be careful with what you hear, right? Don't let that throw you off. Go experience it for yourself and find out, right?
Right.
You go and do the right thing. It's hard for somebody to treat you bad, right?
Right.
So that's the thing.
That's the same scenario like with Auburn so far.
Mm-hmm.
They, all the reviews on it, they say, oh, it's the worst place you can ever go to work. No, it's work. It's not nothing that's,
Right. It's like where I work at now. I work at Midco, Mitchell Industrial Tire. We build tire forklifts, jets, stuff like that. And it's work.
Yeah.
It's hot. It's physical.
Oh yeah.
But you don't hear me doing a bunch of complaining. I don't mind working.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying. I was just like, man, this ain't nothing but negative.
Yeah. It's all about attitude, man. That's the whole thing. Don't bring a pen and paper for notes. If you're writing down notes, I'm gonna laugh at you. Past work sample portfolio. I don't know if any of y'all have welding portfolios yet. I don't know how that would work. I imagine they would probably ask you to go do something like you were talking about. And I don't think you'd be bringing that. List of references. Here's what's important because I always say put down a reference that has a great title, right? So if it's Jamie Kyle, then you put Vice President Simply Bank, right? So then people look at it and they're like, dang, guy knows Vice President of a bank, right? Even though Vice President, crap. I don't get paid a lot. I just invite, they give you titles, they throw them out. So, if you got pastor or something like that, or, team lead or manager, those titles are good to put on.
Owner operator.
Owner operator, yeah, great, because and just make sure they'll tell a good story on you, right? All right, so personal grooming items. I have breath mints today, mostly because I have allergies really bad, so when it gets warm, cold, stuff like that, I gotta keep my mouth wet or I get all dry and start coughing crap. Don't bring that crap with you, because that becomes a nervous tool, right? A way to deal with nervousness. I'm gonna have this breath mint in my mouth, I'm gonna be rolling it all over the place because I'm nervous. That's a distraction, right? So don't do that.
Make sure you breath fresh before you get there.
Yeah, do that. Well, you probably won't get that close. Just make sure it's not really rank, right? Cash coins. Just don't have it jingling around your pocket. Your copy of your ID. You need to bring that, probably with Social Security card, but you got wallets for that. Previous employment information is going to be on your resume. If you bring a planning calendar to an interview with me, I'm probably not even going to interview you. It's supposed to be funny. You guys are supposed to laugh. Who brings a freaking planning calendar to an interview? If they do, I'm not hiring you. I can tell you that right now. Directions to the interview location. Important here. Again, back in the 1900s, we had MapQuest. Well, I don't even think we had MapQuest. You had to know just where it was. You went and pulled an atlas, you got it, you started looking, and you found out where you were going. Now, we have, on our phones, we got directions, we can pull it up, we can find out how long it takes to get there. I would urge you, if you know that you have an interview next Thursday, I would urge you to drive there today at your interview time and find out how long it takes you to get there, right? So you would want to make sure you know the traffic patterns, stuff like that. It may say 13 minutes to get there on your phone. I usually try to beat that just because I'm competitive, but it may say 13, you may drive it and find out and just see, right? So I think that would be something that you probably need to do there. All right, what not to take, don't take your cell phone, items in pockets. Please don't take your family and friends. This is another funny thing you're supposed to laugh at. You bring your family and friends too, I probably may interview one of them just because I'm not gonna interview you. And don't bring your own old.
Would you say you might interview one of their family friends?
Because I'm not gonna interview you. All right, don't bring your own food or drink either. So again, there's another nervous thing that you could do is if somebody brings you a water, you could be sitting here holding this water, all this stuff, fidgety stuff like that. I wouldn't wouldn't go that route. So if they offer you a water, your mouth's dry or something like that, get it, but make sure you take you a drink or whatever, put it on and set it away from you so that you're not grabbing hold of it, twirling it around, doing whatever. All right, any questions so far? All right, so go ahead.
Whenever you talking about references, there's
Yeah,
two types.
guys, dude. Jason, all right.
There's two types of references.
Okay.
You have like coworkers, and then you have like relatives and.
All right, I'm staying away from my
or
relatives,
not from
staying
work.
away from family. Because family's always, I mean, it should give you a good reference. I mean, I'd be a little hot if I put somebody down family and they didn't give me a good reference, right?
Man, yeah, P-I-double-S.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's kind of the thing. So I mean, I think, you know, you put down, I think it's people that you've worked for in the past that has a good opinion of you, regarding your work ethic, stuff like that. And listen, I've had guys in here, been doing this for a long time, right? One of the first graduates of one of these deals that wasn't quite we weren't into the welding stuff yet with the partnership with Cleveland State, but he did this room for us. When we first hired him to do this room, he got hired the next day at a place and worked there through the week, like 50, 60 hours, whatever, and then came in on the weekend. And he worked, built this whole thing, or not built it, but redid it. And I say that to say, because I told him, I was like, Carlos, put my name down. Because I'm gonna tell that story, right? Of you committed to something, you got another job that you had to commit to, but yet you still stayed to your commitment with us and came in on the weekends to get it finished. So anybody in that realm that you have, you can have, I've had people in here that have put their drug court representative on there. I mean, crap, I want somebody on there that's seen me here and has walked with me to here, and they can tell a story about how I got from here to there, right? So that's the kind of thing that you wanna put on there. Somebody, and listen, most of the time, Jason, they're not even calling anymore. I get very few phone calls from people that ask to put me down as a reference. And it's just, it's based on
Are you
what they
saying
see on the resume. Yeah, you selling your stuff.
Because the thing is like, I'm married, I got 5 kids.
Yep.
And I don't really get out very much at all. I mean, we quit going to church since COVID hit.
Right.
But, like, past coworkers, you just lose touch with them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You don't find a good reference
Got
and
friends?
stuff like that is just,
Who's your friend? What do they do?
I have old pastors.
Do
you
they
know.
have, they think of you, most pastors are not gonna
Yeah.
talk bad about somebody. So,
Right.
in your case, you may have to put somebody, if you put somebody down as a family or a friend, I would stick with the friend part, and maybe it's an old buddy.
What about old bosses, even though you're putting it down
Absolutely.
as your,
Yeah, because it could be past, right? It could be,
Yeah.
it could be 20 years ago. Just make sure you call them and say, hey, put you down as a reference, get a phone call.
okay.
And you better talk good about them, right?
Alright.
Right.
Okay, this is the hard part of what we do in here, right? So, and you're gonna think, well, why is this hard? But I'm gonna ask you a question, and 98% of the time, people fail at answering this correctly, okay? So, when I ask you, I'm gonna go around and ask each of you, right? There's only 3 of us in here, okay? And ask you a question, I want you to answer it, okay? All right, I got diabetic guys here, let me see. All right, is it artist? Cool. Artist, tell me about yourself. This is an interview, tell me about yourself.
Stucky. I'm a father, stepfather. I'm lost, man.
Okay, all right, let's go. I'll come back to you. Tim, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm 49 years old,
Okay,
single, work hard.
are you on Tinder right now, or are you on
Yeah.
an interview?
I'm
I'm 49 and single.
Yeah.
Farmersonly.com. All right, so go ahead, 49 single.
Most of them ask you if you're married and all that stuff when I ask
They
you
can't.
about you. Really?
Nope, can't ask you your age either,
Oh, okay.
but you give it to them, they can ask.
Oh, okay.
Okay, keep going.
Well, I'm interested in getting welded,
Okay,
get my degree,
all right,
while I'm advancing my company.
okay,
Cause they got a job opening that pays 25 an hour,
yeah,
and that's what we're going for, so I'm better myself.
okay. All right, Jason, tell me about yourself.
I'm married, I have 5 kids.
Yeah, you just told me stuff I didn't need to know.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not gonna hire you because I know you're gonna have some kid stuff. Don't say it.
My wife is a stay-at-home mom and takes care of the kids.
And that's all well and good, but you still got 5, and the way I look at it, cause I know me, I got 3, I'm outnumbered,
Yeah.
right? So I wouldn't even say that. Don't include, unless you want them to know that, unless you want them to take that into consideration, I wouldn't say it, okay? Keep going.
I'm a hard worker. I love seeing problems and coming up with the solutions to fix problems.
Okay.
I'm interested in welding because it's a great career
Okay.
opportunity. I drove wreckers in the past, so, I see things that, maybe I can contribute to help, get, to be able to benefit the company
Okay.
and stuff like that. I got some ideas and things that, might work to make lives easier on operators and stuff like that. I love to do welding, but inside the future, I would love to be able to do more, more things to really build and make constructed, records to be more innovative.
Cool. I like it. Back to you, Artis.
And my name is Artis Thomas. Really just trying to get myself together. I took a liking to welding and know I could actually build a future.
Okay.
And I would love to be a great asset to your company.
Okay.
And I'm hard working, I work well with others, and I'm eager to do better.
Okay.
And welding is not only a job, but a career that I could actually be able to provide and better myself and graduate from MIG to TIG to stick to, just becoming a fabricator. That's really that's my passion. And but I know it's gonna take a lot more than what I got going on now to get there. But I like fabricating.
Cool. All right. All of you are wrong.
Figure so.
Okay. And I'm gonna tell you why. So, Artis asked me to tell me about myself.
Did you tell me about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Jamie Kyle. Grew up here in the great city of Cleveland, Tennessee. Right. Took off to Atlanta when I got married for about 5.5 years or whatever. So I lived a lot down there. My interests are, I do a NASCAR radio show here in Cleveland that comes on every Wednesday at 5 o'clock and goes to 6. Grew up in NASCAR. My dad took me down to a lot of races. I love fishing. I coach baseball, and so a select baseball team that my youngest son's on. And so we go, all over kind of Cleveland, Chattanooga, Knoxville. I love all sports. Really a big Tennessee Volunteer fan. Like kind of got into hockey a little bit with the Nashville Predators. Always been kind of a Hawks fan because that's what I watched. Big time Braves fan because back in my day you had, the Cubs and Braves. That's all you had to watch or whatever. And NFL, not really a fan of kind of a big team or whatever. I guess Tennessee or Atlanta because they're here or whatever. So really involved in the community. Love doing some radio stuff. Anytime I can get to talk and help somebody, that's what I want to do. So that's about me. Okay. Let me ask you a question. What did I say? Is there anything I said that you can relate to?
Sports,
Okay.
kids.
Yeah.
I stayed in the line myself.
Okay. So Tim, anything you can relate to that I said?
You had some good pointers there.
Well, I mean, if anything you got any same interest I do?
Well, NASCAR.
Okay. All right. What about you, Jason?
Fishing,
All right.
kids.
All right, so think about this. If you answer this question like I just answered it, the easiest way to have a conversation with somebody is to have a conversation with somebody that you have something in common with, right? Remember I talked about nervousness earlier? That nervousness goes away when you are able to relate and talk about something. I gave a lot of information about myself that had nothing to do with work. You would not know where I worked. You would not know what my interests are in work. You wouldn't know anything about that.
Sure.
We're going in to sell ourselves. The only way we can sell ourselves is we can get the person who's interviewing us to relate to us, okay? What I always do is I walk into a place and I go into big time business owners' offices, right? And I'm looking around the office to try to find what I can find. I see, just for up here, minus that BB&T and Regent sign, which I mean, I whip their tail on a daily basis. But I'm looking at like, Trinity, I see Cleveland Bradley Chamber of Commerce, UT Extension. So I'm like, hey, tell me about the UT Extension. Really interested in something like that, right? I'm having a conversation about something that's completely irrelevant to what I'm here for. But yet I know a little bit about the UT Extension, the Institute of Agriculture. So I'm like, what is that? Talk to me. I've dealt with them in the past or whatever. I want to know about that. So I then started a conversation that's going to go for at least 5 to 10 minutes on the personal side. Just because I answered the question about me personally, right? So let's go back and do this again, right? So you don't have to go as long as I did, but what you want to make sure you cover is judge your audience, right? So if I see that I'm interviewing with a guy, most likely dude's gonna like some sport of some kind, right? So I'm gonna talk about how I like sports. I'm gonna talk about like I fish it, I like hunting, whatever. I don't go hunt. My brother-in-law will not take me because I missed a deer one time when I went with him. Went high, ticked him off, and shoot one the rest of the day. But I can go fish. I can catch fish like it's going out of style. So, artist, tell me about yourself.
I'm Artist Tommy. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, born and raised. Graduated from Brandon High School.
Oh, cool.
I used to stay in Atlanta, stayed in Gwinnett, Smyrna.
So Smyrna, tell me about where at Smyrna.
Venice.
Okay.
Venice.
So I lived for about 6 months. I lived in off Windy Hill, off the interstate there in Marietta, right by the weather station. The cool thing about that was the weather channel's right there. I always knew if there's a freaking tornado coming, they're gonna get hit with me, right? So they better know what it is.
Right.
So it's cool. Go ahead.
I don't really watch a whole lot of sports, but my son plays football,
Cool.
so I kind of
Where's he play football at?
Chattanooga. Actually, they won the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, for the 6U.
6U.
Seahawks play for the Seahawks.
They bang heads down there in that 6U division.
Yeah, they give you money's worth.
Yeah.
Them kids be playing their heart out.
It's funny because I really appreciate Snoop Dogg because he has his own football teams out in the
Snoop?
football league out,
Right.
out in California. So
Right.
cool things out there with those young kids, getting them going and stuff.
And that's really what it's about, giving the youth something to do. Because
Right.
the world we live in now, you just never know what to expect.
Right. And so me and Artist's conversation there and compared to me and Artist's conversation at the beginning, way different, right? Artist is more relaxed. He got his hands back in his pockets, legs kicked out, right? He's having fun talking now. So when I start to get into the work stuff, we're gonna be in the same environment, okay? Same kind of difference. So it's a different mentality than what you're probably told, because we're always told in interviews that straight up stuff like that. Well, he doesn't need to be laying back,
Yeah.
right? But if he's setting up with his hands in his pocket, as long as he's got eye contact and we're relating, I don't care, okay? All right, which one of you wanna go first? Just throws you under the bus, coach.
My name's Tim. I'm born and raised Cleveland, Tennessee.
Where'd you graduate? Did you graduate?
Huh?
Where'd you graduate?
Right.
What year?
82.
82? We're still very
I wasn't like 82, man.
No, I'm just saying.
Is it 92?
That's the year I was born.
Yeah. But I like motocross.
Cool.
I got a street bike. I like racing.
So I got a question for you. So on these motorcycle things, are you prepared to donate your organs to anybody?
Yeah, I'm keeping all mine.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying because you have no protection when you're on a motorcycle. That's what I never understand. I had a friend of mine down in Woodstock or whatever got killed on a motorcycle. First day I had it, driving home, and got run over. Right. So it's like, I sit there and wonder. I just tell, and I hate to bring the story down, right? But I'm like, just wonder if you got good life insurance or whatever for whoever.
Not really.
You got a street bike? So is it a crotch rocket or is it a
Yes, it's a
crotch rocket?
06 ZX10R.
So you're the one flying by me on the streets, right?
No. There's a difference between having respect for one
Yeah,
and doing something stupid.
that's true. All right, what else you like? What else you like?
Well, NASCAR and painting all
Who you like in NASCAR? Talk to me.
Jimmy Johnson.
What? He's retired.
I know it, but
Who
he's
else?
still the
You
man.
ain't got anybody else?
Five-time championship.
Who else? 7. Who else you got?
How old?
He says,
You better know your facts you're getting on NASCAR with this
well,
guy.
yeah. Well, it's been a while since I watched NASCAR. Most time it's on motocross.
So you like the stadium series in motocross, right? Where they go through all that. You know, NASCAR just raced at the LA Coliseum 2 weeks ago on a quarter-mile track or whatever there. It's kind of their opening exhibition. And Ice Cube was the halftime entertainment or whatever for it, which was really cool. But they had 55,000 people there. 70% of those 55,000, it was their first race.
I wanna go
So-
to Bristol to the dirt race.
I go to Bristol every year in August, and I have press passes because of the little radio show, so I get to hang out with the cool people down in the pits and stuff like that, but I absolutely love Bristol. We can talk NASCAR all day. I'm just gonna stop you because we can talk that forever. Alright,
I
so
see.
you would relate there, right? So, alright, Jason, I'll start calling you the bald-headed beards. I'll lose my hair, I gotta grow a beard, I guess.
Well, I'm Jason Delight, born and raised in Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Yep.
Got married, moved up here,
Why'd you move up here?
because my wife's family
Is
moved
there-
up here. and,
Mama says gotta go, we go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah. I enjoy, doing projects at my house.
Yep. What kind?
Welding projects or, just small things, carpenter projects by the house.
Cool.
Move my shed,
Yep.
poured me a concrete footer and lift it up and stuff, just getting into gardening.
Gardening, that's
Yeah,
a full-time job with gardening, right?
yep.
We've had a couple out behind my house, with our neighbors, they kinda shared one or whatever, and we live in an old neighborhood, so we've got a bunch of old dirt, which is great, you know, it's been dug up a couple times or whatever, so it's really fertile, but Sharon, my next door neighbor at the time, she absolutely loved it, so she would just go over there and work it, so all I had to do is put what I wanted to plant in there, Kelly and I, and good to go, right, and then we'd get what we got. But I'd always do a lot of, what do they call them? Green peppers, I do a lot of peppers. So I had it, cause they're easy to grow, you can pick them, stuff like that. I hate tomatoes. Like, I don't like to eat them unless it's on a burger or something like that, but I hate, you gotta keep them in that thing so that they don't, go everywhere.
My mom tried to do my bad, sorry.
I start saying, artists like, I'm chipping in on this one, like,
I done, jalapeno peppers and
Yeah.
bell peppers last year.
Yeah.
I did some potatoes, but,
Grow your watermelon.
tomatoes, but I'm gonna try to do mostly potatoes this
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Those are fun too. So my grandfather had I think that about 5 or 6 years ago, he had got a 25-acre farm or whatever, so we would always go up there in the wintertime around, Christmas time or whatever, we'd stay for a while in Madisonville, Tennessee. And so he'd always tell us, always knew, go up to the barn, boys, the right-hand door or whatever, open it up, get to work. I always knew what that meant, right? It was potatoes with lime all over them, been sitting in there forever, and we had to bag them, so I don't like potatoes growing because of that. I like to eat potatoes, but, so I've got stuff in common now with each of you, right? So that makes the conversation so much easier. Now, we've got something going. Now, what happens if they don't have anything in common with you? Good luck, right? Because they're gonna be, stiff, everything. I don't know who's interviewing you today. They're gonna be stiff. I'm sure they'll ask that question. So just be prepared to stay personal with it. What you guys did the first time is exactly what everybody's done except for 1 or 2 people, right? So you gotta make sure that you're keeping that personally related, because it doesn't say, tell me about your work life, or tell me about what you like about work, or what work do you like. It says, tell me about yourself, right? So I wanna answer that question correctly. All right, so they'll say, maybe name your 3 greatest strengths, right? If you say them, you better be able to back them up, okay? So you could throw something out there. What is your greatest weakness? Now here's an opportunity. I always tell people this, when you say a weakness, or when you say something that's happened to you, you always have a positive, right, that goes behind it on how you fixed it, okay, or how you're trying to fix it. For example, if I say, listen, I really have a hard time being on time, but what I've done to fix that is I've changed my clocks to where I'm 30 minutes, faster than what it is, and I have 3 alarms that go off or whatever in the morning, because I'm just not really a good morning person. So, but I've tried to fix that by doing that, and it's worked out, right? So then by the time you explain that, I haven't even thought about what your weakness is. I'm just super pumped that you've kind of figured out what you're gonna do with it. So anytime you have a weakness that you talk about, always have a positive that can back that up. Understand what I'm saying? Because you don't wanna, it's great to be honest, and that's what you're being, because you have a problem. But this is how I'm working on a way to fix it. And that's what I wanna know. I don't wanna know, I'm asking you because I want you to screw up. I want you to give me a reason not to hire you. But if you give me a reason not to hire you, but then you throw a reason out on what you're doing to work, and I'm like, wait, I can't hire this guy, right?
Do you need to keep it personal or is something?
No, because they're gonna ask you, that's probably a work question.
Okay.
It can be personal, I mean, it can be something, I mean, you know, being on time is related, is a personal deal, but it's work, right? You know, being able to stay focused or whatever, you might have ADD or something like that. Hey, I got it this, but you know, this is what I'm doing to fix it, but that all relates kind of to work. So you'd wanna keep it to work related. What are your most significant accomplishments within and outside the organization? At this point, if you want to, you can say, I am a proud dad of, you know, kids, if you want to. Just know if you say that, you put yourself in a situation like we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
That
we
could be
told
it.
you, like, excuse me,
Go ahead.
about like we were sitting here talking about football, the kids, you know, we already pretty much brought up being a father.
Yep.
You know? I have some step kids, but I wouldn't even put them in there. I hate to say it like that.
Yeah.
I have one child.
Yeah.
You know, just that would be better than me saying 5.
Well, but you don't, so you could go
I
in
ain't
at
saying
that
that,
point.
'cause I got 5 in the house too.
Right, so I got 3, so we're done, I'm not.
All boys.
I got all boys too. So it's one of those deals where you could just say, I'm a dad, my biggest accomplishment's being a dad,
Right.
right? Or if you got another accomplishment that you had at work or outside the organization, feel free to talk about that. It's your time to brag on yourself, right? Don't sell yourself short. What you think might be the most minuscule type of accomplishment is a good accomplishment, right? So let's don't think that it's not. All right, what attracted you to this company and position? Here's where I like the bull crap, okay? You have to have, if you're in sales, you have to have a little bit of bull crap ability to be able to throw that in there. All right, so what attracted you to the company? Listen, I love the fact that you guys are well established in the community. I see you guys around the community all the time. I'm a community-minded person. I like to know that the place I'm working for is really giving back to the community, and I really appreciate that.
Well, they tell you that's a bunch of bull.
They're gonna look at me like, what the crap did he just say?
Yeah.
Right? And then they're gonna be like, when can you start? So, or, hey, I love your safety record. Safety's important with me. You've done over 1 million hours of safety, or of nobody getting hurt. I don't know how you've done it, but I'm interested in learning the ways that you guys have set up, or the policies you guys have set up, so that I can participate in that, because being safe is my #1 priority.
Right.
Right? Just made that crap up.
I was working at the chicken house. I ain't worked that long, but they had like a
I
million
thought you
some
smelled like a
hours.
chicken. What?
They had like a million some hours of safety. It's on, when you walking in, it said, it's a lot, 1 point something million.
It's important to them, right? So, and you could go along the lines of, look, I'm looking for a career. I want to go to a place where that's going to offer me a career. I don't want to leave in 2 years. I want to retire from here, right? So I looked at the information that you guys provide on your website. I've talked to a few people that work here. You guys provide that. That's why I'm happy to have the opportunity to come work here. I'm bullcrapping. Make up your own story, right? But go online, make sure it's true. Don't, you know, if you throw, hey, you got 2 million hours in safety, I really appreciate that. Like, no, dog, we got 100,000 because we just had one not too long ago. So that's something that you could put. Why do you want to work for us? Same kind of thing. Bullcrapability kind of comes in, right? How do you feel about your current or most recent position? I don't care if you hate the world that the person, your boss, works on currently. How do you feel about your current or most recent position? Listen, it was a great position. It just didn't provide me the opportunity to grow, and I want to grow, right? So that's why I'm here. I didn't say anything negative about it, even though I hated it. Still, I put it on me, right? Didn't provide me the opportunity to grow. That's why I'm here, because you guys do that. All right, what was your reason for leaving? If in Tennessee, if I call Jason, and Jason owns a company or is manager of a company, and I say, Jason, did artists get fired in 2018 from your place? Jason cannot tell me that. The only thing Jason can tell me in Tennessee is that artists worked for a company for 2001 to 2018. Nobody knows if you got fired. Nobody knows if you just quit, right? What was your reason for leaving? So now is an opportunity where you have the opportunity to make yourself look really bad or look really good. And again, remember, if a negative is out there, you got to follow it with a positive. Listen, I did not do what I was supposed to do at that place. I thought that the way I was doing things was the right way. It wasn't. I got involved with the wrong crowd there, and really just kind of brought my work, and what I did down, and that just didn't bode well. So I I decided that, you know, it was probably better just to go ahead and leave the company. However, what I've learned is that, you know, when I'm at work, it's all about me working together with a good team and not being part of the negative, but being part of the positive and the solution. Just made that crap up, right? If you have a negative, you gotta have a positive. It may just be that, look, the person that was the manager there, you know, that there's people you fit with and people you don't. And the way he managed, the way he did things, there was a lot of people that really didn't like that, and I was one of them. And so I chose to leave. However, you know, I'm pretty easy to get along with. I like doing what I do. The way I like to be managed is, you know, tell me what I need to do or show me what I need to do, and you don't have to worry about me doing it, right? So that tells, I've already forgot about the negative. I'm understanding how you work at that point, right? Describe a conflict with a manager or coworker, and how did you resolve it? Again, we're trying to make ourselves look good here, right? So if you had that, I had one guy that I almost got in a fight with in here. Like, I was doing the mock interviews, and I used to fight a lot, like when I was in school and stuff, and I don't mind fighting, just don't like getting hit. Now it hurts. Being 44, it's a little painful now, right? So you don't get over it as fast. But the reason that we got to that point, and he backed down quickly or whatever and just apologized because he realized that I was trying to help him. But it is, some people have really hot tempers, okay? And if I feel that in an interview, I am not going to hire you. So what I did, because I knew he did, is I started asking that question, and I was like, why'd you hit the guy? Because he said he hit the guy. And I was like, you think that's the right thing to do, is hit a guy at work? And just kept digging in. Well, he starts getting mad, and I was like, I would never hire you. Would never, because it's gonna cost me probably a good employer too, because this jackleg's gonna go run around trying to, you know, hit people. And I was like, you gotta get help for it, or you gotta figure out a way, what's the positive that comes behind the negative of what you're doing? And he's been somewhere now for the past 8 years, right? But it's just one of those deals where he needed to understand that I could read everything that he was throwing down, right? I could see he was gonna get ticked off. I was trying to push him, and that's what he did. He would never get a job if he would've went to an interview, and that was kind of just blowing off of him, right? Is he, you know, because when I ask him that question, or somebody asks him a question, he'd be like, I had the guy. Guy wouldn't shut up, wouldn't leave me alone, so I punched him. Right? What's the right thing to do?
Walk away.
Walk away. The guy won't leave you alone. Hey, go talk to your supervisor. Listen, I love what I'm doing, but this guy won't stop talking to me. You know, really back in the day, I'd probably already hit him, right? But I don't want to do that. I need you to handle that. So we got through it. We still talk today, right? So, and I probably kicked his butt. I tell him that all the time. All right, because I can only last for about, what's that country song? Not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
Yeah.
All right, so what are your career goals? I don't know what your career goals are, right? An artist is finding that answer on his phone, or I don't know what his career goals are. Artist is going to be, just kidding. So I think the thing is that you have to come up with a career goal. Somebody said, one behind this is, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow, right? My boss asked me this at SunTrust when I first started working in banking. The only thing I knew to say, he said, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? I was like, your job. I was cocky. Your job. What am I gonna do? I was like, okay, I like that. But I don't think you can say that, right? Yeah.
Might be a little too.
Sure, too blunt, right? You're just telling him, and who knows if I want his job, right? And you know, when you get it, you're like, oh crap, I didn't really want this job anyway. But I think it's important to be a little bit confident in what you're doing. You know, it may just be that you want to weld for the rest of your life in one spot, and that's okay too. Look, I want to weld in this position for as long as I'm working, right? It's just what I want to do. You don't have to worry about me, not showing up. I want to be here doing this job. That's what I want to do. Or, hey, my career aspirations are, I want to manage. I want to manage some people and teach them what I know, right? When it comes to welding and how to be able to do that stuff. That answer's up to you. There's no wrong answer. You just don't want to say, well, I usually quit a job every 6 months, so I don't know what 5 to 10 years looks like. You don't say that, right? That probably ain't gonna work so well. Yeah. So why are you changing careers? That could be a question they would ask. I doubt it, because I mean, if it was me in banking and I was going to restaurant management, that might be a question, right? But nobody's ever asked me that in the field that I'm in, or, you know, my dad in factory work his whole life. Nobody ever asked him why you change your careers just because you're going from, you know, maybe working at a factory or working wherever you're working or not working to doing welding, okay? You could throw in there, listen, welding's always been a passion of mine, something I wanna do. Never had the opportunity to do it, went to City Fields, went to Cleveland State. Hey, I can do this stuff now, that's what I'm gonna do, right? You could do that. Tell me about the worst and best boss you've had. Probably stick with the best. Say worst. If you say the worst boss you ever had, make it about you. I don't know that necessarily he was the worst boss. I think that I didn't give him the opportunity to be a better boss. Right? See how I turned that negative into a positive kind of thing? Are you interviewing with other companies? You better stinking believe it. Matter of fact, I got one today at 2 o'clock. I want to put a little pressure on them to know that I'm wanted, right? Like I meet with different banks all the time. They're always calling, and because let's face it, people our age are people they want, right? Because we show up for work. It's 20-year-olds now. I got a couple on the way. They don't work. They don't show up for work all the time. They're on their phones. They're doing all this crap, right? So I'm going to go meet with everybody. So if somebody asks if I'm interviewing with other companies, you better believe it. Yeah. Matter of fact, got one tomorrow. I don't care if you do or not. Get one for tomorrow if you don't want to lie, right? And do that, because it puts they know then, hey, if we like this guy, we gotta do something.
I'm gonna get him now.
Yeah, we need to go ahead and we'll call you tomorrow morning and let you know which way we're going. Because I don't want them to say, we got 20 more interviews to go. I don't have time for that. I'm going to interview with a couple other places. You know, you do 20 interviews, but I don't know if I'll be available. You call anyway, and find out. But then when they call, they offer the job. I already got a couple, but I mean, I guess I'll come work for you. Oh my gosh, you suck, but I don't want to work for you. Will you relocate? I don't know. Will you? I mean, will you relocate? I don't know. So that's a question that you have to figure out. What kind of compensation salary are you looking for? I always tell people, look at the posting, right? They got a jobs or they got a salary thing they're gonna pay you or an hourly rate. You don't ever want to go over that. You don't ever want to say, well, you're saying you're gonna pay $17 an hour. Well, I'm gonna need 30. I'm gonna tell you bye, right? Because my job that you're interviewing for, that you read the posting on, it says, you know what it says, so that's what I'm paying. All right, tips for dealing with illegal questions. What I was talking about. If you give information, they can talk about it, right? You tell me you're married, then I can talk about your wife, right? Tell me you got kids, and I can ask you about your kids. You don't tell me that, I can't say it, right? You told me you were 49 years old. I need to know that. One of the questions that you can't ask, or I can't ask you, is how old are you, right? You gave me 49. Now I'm talking about it, right?
Open the door.
Right. Can't talk about race, can't talk about religion, can't talk about national origin, gender or sexual preference, marital status, family and children. That's what they cannot ask you.
But if
You can give it to them, and they can talk about it. All right, prepare your own questions to ask. That's like I told you before.
No more than 2.
No more than 2, and make it to where it makes you look good, like you've done your work, like you've done your homework. Okay. One good question that you can ask without doing homework is, what's a typical day, in the life of my job look like?
And what about this question right here? Does this company, the word I'm looking for is like allowing you to move up?
So is there opportunity to progress?
Right, opportunity to progress.
You could say that. You could ask that. Most time a company's going to say yes, just because that's all they say. So just to be prepared for kind of a short answer.
And what you think? Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, so I would be more along the lines of, I would want to know, I would want you to ask something that would make them know that you have maybe one question that says you've done some research, and then another question, or what's a typical day in the life of my job look like?
Tag say you had to work there for a year to become permanent.
Right.
And then so you get quarterly bonuses.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, do you give well, that's getting into the pay thing again, right? So maybe leave that out. I'm wanting to get a job, right? If Tag is willing to interview me and I want to get a job, the best job you can get, this is the best job you can get, is the job you get when you already have a job, right? Every banking job I've ever gotten, except for the first one, and I still had a job when I interviewed for that, I had a job, I was working at a bank. So I didn't have to worry about not getting it, right? So if you go to work for Tag doesn't work out as far as, or you get an opportunity to go interview, don't quit Tag yet. Go interview and find out what you can get. Then you can use the whole, well, happy where I'm at, really, so, you know, why are we
That's what
talking?
I tell my son,
Yeah.
okay.
You gonna pay me more, what's gonna go on, what's happening, right? So then you've got a little more leverage, right, to do that. So you can go to work for TAG, and they may say, well, we do quarterly bonuses or whatever, just, I try not to make it, if I'm trying to get a job, I try not to make it all about the money.
Right.
I try to, there's two things that I look for, happiness, right? I wanna be happy there, I wanna make sure there's room to go, and grow, and then money comes third, right? So I wanna make sure it's that. So those questions would be important. All right, so tips, top 10 tips, be on time. Listen, don't be there 20 minutes early. You take up my time if you're 20 minutes early, because you're taking up my assistant's time, who's gonna have to meet you, right, greet you, and then set you down. And then you're taking up, you know, I'm sitting there having to look at you, you're out there nervous as crap. I can tell you're nervous, so I've already got predisposed kind of information about you, and I can see that you're nervous. Get there 5 to 7 minutes early, you know, go up to the person that's the doorkeeper, gatekeeper is what we call them in sales, and you know, let them know that you're there and stuff like that for an interview, and then go have a seat and just think about cool stuff, right? And think about how many things you're gonna tell them that, you know, about yourself, and it's not gonna be business oriented, right? Thank the interviewer, dress appropriately, introduce yourself to everyone. If there are 3, 1, whatever people interviewing you, you guys ever watch David Letterman, Jay Leno, who else is now? Jimmy Fallon, you know. All right, so they always, when they have a guest come in, they always stand up and greet them, and then they wait, like they tell the guest, the host will tell the guest to sit down before they sit down, right? You never sit down before the interviewer sits down, okay? You tell them you wait until they say have a seat, and then you sit down, right? And when you shake their hand, you always look them in the eye, okay? Gotta have that eye contact. That's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, you shake hands with somebody, you look them in the eye. All right, wait to be seated. Place loose items in the floor next to you. Don't bring loose items. That's stupid. Don't ask for refreshments. If you ask for a Coke, probably not gonna be good. They offer you water. Cool. Just be prepared not to have something to drink. Turn off electronics. Keep a positive, friendly attitude. So let's see if there's anything. Oh, so I'll tell you this story, and then I'll be on time. So what time did I get here? 9 o'clock.
No, right before 9.
Yeah. So I was at Gun Barrel SunTrust Bank, and we had just created this new position called a CSS, I think, Customer Service Specialist. So this person was supposed to stand in the lobby and just kind of greet people and stuff like that the whole time. So I had like 23 applicants, I believe, and I had to interview every one of those people. Right, so there was about 5 people that I had kind of narrowed it down to that I was going to do a second interview with, until I got a piece of mail, and it was a handwritten letter, and it said, "Thank you, Mr. Kyle, for interviewing me. I hope that we are, you know, I hope I'm a fit for your position, and I would really like the opportunity to come and work for you." Took the time to handwrite a letter, put it on an envelope, go pay for a stamp, which I don't know how much it was at this point in time, pay for a stamp, put it on there, and I got it the next day.
You got your attention.
Malitha Hubbard was hired the next day, okay? Didn't even interview the other 4. And she worked out. We still talk today. This was 2010, so it was 12 years ago. And we still talk today, and you know, she's put me down for reference, and I tell that story about everybody who calls me. Right? And so I would I would tell you that the most important thing that you can do after an interview is don't email them, don't text them, because that's cool stuff that they do now, right?
Right.
What means something to people is when you take the time, no matter how sloppy your handwriting is, to write a thank you letter saying, "I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me. I hope that I'm a fit for your company. I look forward to your phone call," something like that. And then sign your name at the bottom, go buy you a stamp, put it on there, send it, okay?
To the person that interviewed
To
you.
the person, so what's that require of you? You have a card, sir, right? So if they don't have cards available, you have a card, sir? Do you have a card? I want that address, I want that name, I want that, you know, I wanna be able to send it, right?
Right.
Don't text them, don't call them, I don't care if they email you, right? You can email them back, only after you send a thank you letter. So that's important that you do that, because I think that's a lost art, right? Nobody does that anymore. Nobody writes letters. Listen, my handwriting sucks, right? But I can go 3 lines and make it look somewhat legible if I need to, and that's really all I need. You know, is 3 lines and just need to say some cool stuff and then kind of go from there. So, that's probably one of them, other than tell me about yourself and a couple other things, that's probably the most important part of this class.
Right, because you
Nobody
wouldn't
does
think
it.
about that,
Nobody does it
you're
anymore.
right.
They get there, they get an interview, and like, "Whew, that's done." If they go that one step, that could be the difference in getting a job. Because
'Cause ain't nobody
I
doing this.
guarantee you, yes, I guarantee you, if they don't call you back when you do that, then they didn't get it. You write a handwritten letter, you have, just like you asking a question around the research you've done, has set yourself apart from anybody else that's gonna interview there. You writing a handwritten letter completely sets you apart from, you could almost bomb the interview, right? But you still, if you get that you answer the tell me about yourself, you relate, you bomb the rest of the questions, and then you send a handwritten letter, dude, they're gonna call you.
So you just opened up a door that the door you closed, you just opened it back up.
Because then you character becomes a thing, right? I didn't like the way you answered some of your questions in your work history. I can tell, that's a negative, I can tell by the positive that you sent in a handwritten letter, taking the time to do that, your character's a little different than what it was before, right? It's gonna be an opportunity to get hired. You've got to do that. Listen, I am pot calling kettle black, because the last time I interviewed with somebody, I didn't do it. Typically, I do that. But I think it's a very important, deal. It's a very important aspect to what is, especially with us guys that are, a little old school because of our age and stuff. Everybody wants to text these days. Everybody wants to email. That's fine, all well and good. I'm gonna get the job when I send them a handwritten letter over the person that just sends the blanket email, right? Some people are younger, like back in the back over there. She probably still sends the text and the emails. We're gonna handwrite, right? Make it happen. All right, cool. Anybody have any questions?
Some of the questions that you ask
Right.
and stuff like that, will we be able to get like a piece of paper that would tell us those questions, so that way we can kind of prepare for
In the
types
future.
of questions?
So I would say this. I'm most knowledgeable, I know more about me than I know about anybody else, right? And I know a lot about my wife, I know a lot about my kids. I'm more knowledgeable about me than anything else, right? So the only thing that would do, if you got that, is you would be thinking, this is how I'm gonna answer this question, I'm gonna be so prepared to answer these questions, and then they may not even ask the question. And then when they don't, you're gonna be thrown off, right? I think you have to go into it with an open mind and know there's not anything that they're gonna ask you, Jason, that you don't know about you, Jason, right? So, I understand your question and want to be prepared. I think the only question you need to be prepared for, or the only thing that you need to be prepared for when you walk in, is how can I relate to this person, right? How can I listen, we're gonna go back, come on, all right, I forgot your name. Juliana, all right, so I'm gonna show you something with Juliana, all right? So, jean jacket. Talk to me about that, because I'm a child of the early 90s. They were kind of cool in the 80s. Those things back?
Yeah, they're back.
Really? Is everybody wearing those things now?
Some people.
Where do you get them from?
I got this at H&M.
What is that?
It's a European-based store, but they have them in malls and things, so they're really trying to do it.
So the jean jacket thing kind of come back overseas first, and then it's kind of made its way over here?
I guess so.
Yeah. So we just talked about a jean jacket, right? Juliana probably feels a little more comfortable talking to me now, right? Do you, Juliana? I mean, she was intimidated at first. So that kind of thing is what I wanna do. I'm gonna look when I walk into a room, and I wanna see, hey, that's a cool block up there. Like we talked about with the UT extensions. So to your question, Jason, I don't want you to have the questions and have a memorized answer, right? I want you to get to know me. I gotta get to know you, because at the end of the day, we gotta work together, right? And you're gonna work for me, you're making me money. So I don't want your boxed answers, I want to know about you. Find a way to relate to me, the rest of the questions become easy at that point.
I know, but there's like some questions you talked about, like,
Pretty
that's
great.
just hard questions for me to answer.
Okay? Why are they
Without
hard?
getting into negative aspects of things that's happening.
So what, when you have a negative aspect,
I mean, you have to think of a positive.
talk to me about one of your negative aspects.
I mean, just working for a company where coworkers steal your tools,
Okay?
the majority of them's on drugs,
Yep.
and
You know, but niggas supposed to say about that place.
stuff like that. And the work environment was, really hard to work with. And I guess, me knowing that I didn't stay there long for these jobs to turn around, and it doesn't look good for the fact that,
Here's the one thing that you have to quit worrying about, is what people think. Okay? If you worry about what people think, you're never gonna be able to do that, because you don't have confidence in yourself, right? I don't care. We're talking about this job, right? And yeah, you may have worked at a job where you had a bunch of people that were on drugs and stealing crap, right? Okay. So what did you do?
I left.
You left, okay? So, we don't have people on drugs here, we don't have people stealing stuff. Okay, so now I don't care about it, what are you gonna do for me, right? So quit worrying about what people think about you, okay? Because most of the time, they're not even thinking about you. Okay, 98% of the time they don't. Juliana didn't even think about you now, and I had a conversation about a jean jacket, right? She started to forget, now she's looking out there wondering where the wind's blowing, right? So quit thinking about that. You think about that, you're done. If you go into an interview thinking about that, your confidence is gone, your swagger's gone, and you're to poor pitiful me kind of thing, right? Poor pitiful me don't get you a job, okay? Poor pitiful me gets you in the same boat where you keep doing that whole cycle thing. Break the freaking cycle, okay? And I hate to say freaking, it's better than the other word, but anyway. What you got, Tim?
No, no.
Let me chew you out, I can chew you out too. What about you, Artis?
I'm good.
Down, I'm ready.
Good.
Good to go.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the, listen, I cared about what a lot of people thought about me. I was made fun of a little bit in elementary school and middle school. It really just kind of bothered me. When I got into high school, I was like, you know what, who cares, right? Why am I letting them take up headspace in my head? I don't care. I have the opportunity to go be friends with who I want to be friends with. I have the opportunity to go work where I want to work, right? I can create my own life, and I don't care about what other people think. So am I gonna get into a situation, Jason, where they ask me a question, I'll be like, well, I did this and I did that? No. You know what, look, yeah, there were some difficult times at the places I worked at before. I mean, there was, and I don't really need to go into it. It was not me, it was them, right? But I don't really, I'm here to talk about what I can do for you. You're what I can talk about, what I can do for you now, what I wanna do. This is how I've changed. And I am ready to do whatever it takes to get, this job or whatever, and show you, listen, I love your stories about the records. Now, don't go in there saying, hey, I wanna change your whole stuff, right? But I'm familiar with a record. I ain't got a heads up on a lot of people because I'm familiar with a record. I drove that thing for a long time. Hey, many people don't drive a record. A lot of work, right? I was willing to do it. Now I wanna make it. How can I do that? Okay? Don't think about what other people think about you. It's easier said than done. You gotta get that crap out of your head, because you're letting them live there. People that stole your tools living in your head still. Your other job, living in your head. Alright, any other questions? That answer yours?
yeah, it's just some of the questions that you ask, that employers ask. In other words, if I wasn't inside a situation where they were judging those things, I would never think about them, would never worry about them. It's only whenever you gotta answer to those type of things that makes it.
But if you ask me questions, if I give up the answer, then you can expound on them. If I don't, if I don't answer the question, if I say there's nothing, don't get choked in my mouth. If I say there's nothing, I haven't really had much problems at work or whatever, then I can't expound on it. So what I'm saying is, if you open it up, like you said, you were a dad of 5 kids, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm interviewing you, I told you my thought was that, man, he's probably gonna be out a lot because he's got 5 kids. And I know when kids come home with every, virus known to man, right? So you had to then come back and say, well, my mom or my wife's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah,
So that still doesn't mean anything to me because I'm still thinking about that. So you gave that information up. That is a negative as far as me looking at you. Unless you walk into my office, positive thing right here, right? You walk into my office and you see a picture of my wife and 3 kids. Then I've given you the opportunity to relate to me, hey, that's your 3 kids? Yeah, it's my 3 kids. I love those kids. All boys, 16, 15, 14, about to be 17, 15, 14. Love them to death, right? Tick me off a lot, but I still love them, right? And then you talk about your kids and you related. So,
Just bonded.
yeah, when I ask a question that is a tough question, like why did you leave your last job? Look, keep it simple. Listen, it wasn't a good fit. I keep wanting to get to a place where I can do what I'm talented at doing, or what I feel like is my talent, and that job wasn't it. Yeah, and that's why I'm here. I wanna win.
Gotta keep it positive, why you wanna leave.
Yeah, because if you give them a negative, right, then I can ask about it, but if you give me a negative, you better, but, comma, hit me with a positive real quick so I can forget about it, right?
Yeah.
So that would be the thing, is you need to make sure that that's there, but, you know, again, I am very big on don't lie to me, right? And anything I've said in this class is not a lie. Everything I've said is backed up. Now, I believe it, so it means it's not a lie, right? If I tell you that I wanna be here for the rest of my life, hey, my goal is to be here for the rest of my life. It's up to you whether that happens or not, right? If you don't provide a good work environment, I may not be here for the rest of my life, but my goal is to be here for the rest of my life. That's not a lie, right? So I'm not gonna lie about it, but that just means if I give less information, it doesn't give me the opportunity to go into the real truth of why, right? But if I give less information, it helps me get on to the next question, and they can't expound on it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if I ask you why you left your last job, listen, it wasn't a fit. It just wasn't a fit. Why wouldn't it fit? I really can't explain it. It really, it was hard for me to be able to move up there. I love welding. I wasn't really a welding job. I kind of fell in love with that. I've always been good with my hands and what I do. I just want to get into this welding job. I think it would be great, and I think it would allow me to use the talent I have at welding. And, I want to stay somewhere for a long time. That position didn't give me that opportunity. Now, what did I say there? I gave you a story, right? I didn't give you anything to expound on. Why didn't you want to stay there for a long time? I mean, we could go into that long story, right? I mean, it deals with a lot of stuff. But let's talk about what I want to do now, because that's why I'm here, right? Most people aren't even going to expound on that. They don't even ask that question unless it's out there. Need patch up on here?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, gotcha. I do that all the time. I don't want to scratch it because I can't mess up my hair. You try not to mess up. Look at him over here. Can't mess up that hair. All right. I hope I answered that question. Anybody else, artists?
Now you pretty much nailed it. Going there with some confidence. First and foremost, dress appropriately.
Yep.
And if you have something to say, know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Don't, not beat around the bush, but jab at something you can't connect with the jab.
Right. I think, like I said, the biggest thing is relationship. Find a way to relate. Okay. Got to do that. All right. So I left you some time. When's the mock interviews happen?
Around 10:30, so
Okay. So you got
they'll have a break.
You got 15 minutes. Where are you interviewing at? Where in your mock interview? Miller?
Miller.
All right. Where are you doing?
Albert,
Who?
Albert,
Okay.
Tag.
All right. So y'all Google that stuff right now, right? And find something that you can ask a question about, right? Make them bullcrap an answer, right? So I love, do I?
I work there, so it's.
Yeah, see, well, yeah. So you've got, you work there, so you try to get a better position?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see.
So I would Google those positions, whatever, or Google whatever, and then I'd come with a question. I had loader safety hours, stuff like that. Find something that you could do, and who's doing the interview?
I think it's Ken and Jen.
Oh, Ken did. Yeah. Make Ken bullcrap. He'll turn her in. All right. So if you do that.
And what would I Google tagging safety hours?
I just Google tag, go to their website,
That's what we do.
and then see what's on the front page. Usually I brag about the stuff on the front page, or just go to about. And they should have an about and see what they make. And so it might be, hey, how is the supply chain? Here's a cool question. You can sound really smart because I learned supply chain stuff and I feel smart when I ask it. How has the supply chain affected your business? The supply chain shortage affected your business? Like with the boats sitting out at sea, lack of truck drivers, stuff like that, how's that affected your business? If you ask that question, they're gonna be like, where did he come from? Why didn't I know about him before? So, that's it. All right, thank you guys, good luck.
Thank you.
James.
Call up here, and, if you need, got any questions or whatever, call up here, then get ahold of me, and we'll get it going. Cool.
All right.
Thank you, Jean Jacket.